Have you ever felt like you're pushing too hard, trying to force things that just aren't working? Here's the truth: the harder you push, the more life pushes back. But what if the real key to getting what you want is to stop forcing it? Today we're diving into a powerful, often overlooked approach. It's all about letting go of control, not giving up, but knowing when to pull back. It's learning to let things flow. It's understanding when to stop trying so hard. This isn't about being passive. It's about embracing a different kind of strength, one built on patience, self-trust, and clarity. We live in a world that says go harder, push more, never take no for an answer, and yes, sometimes it works. But there are moments when forcing things only makes it worse. Think about it. How many times have you tried to make a relationship work through sheer willpower? How often have you pushed yourself to exhaustion only to feel more stuck? We end up creating stress, frustration, even self-doubt. Why? Because we believe forcing things is the only way to succeed. 1. The wisdom of letting go. You see, letting go isn't the same as giving up. It's not about walking away from what you want, rather, it's about walking away from what holds you back. Often what keeps us stuck isn't our situation, it's the fear we carry inside us. Fear of losing control, fear of failure, fear of facing the unknown. These fears become like heavy chains, binding us and stopping us from reaching our true potential. When we hold on to these fears, it's like trying to climb a mountain while carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Sure, you can push forward, but you'll exhaust yourself before you reach the summit. Letting go of this weight doesn't mean we abandon our goals or dreams. It means we get rid of what's unnecessary, those doubts, fears, and anxieties that only make the journey harder. Letting go is really about finding your own strength and recognizing that you don't need to control every little thing. Control is an illusion. The only thing you can truly control is yourself, your mindset, and your actions. The moment you understand this, you begin to free yourself from the need to force things. Think about this. Have you ever tried to hold on too tightly to something, an idea, a plan, or maybe even a person? When you do that, it usually doesn't work out, does it? The harder you try to hold on, the more you push it away. That's because life has its own flow, its own rhythm, and when you try to control it, you end up fighting against it. But when you step back, when you let things unfold naturally, you often find a sense of calm and clarity that you didn't have before. In our culture, we're often told to never give up, but there's a difference between persistence and desperation. Persistence is about taking consistent, thoughtful action toward your goals. Desperation, on the other hand, is about clinging to something out of fear. When you're desperate, you're not thinking clearly. You're acting out of a place of lack of belief that if you don't hold on, you'll lose something important. But here's the irony in letting go: we often gain so much more. When you're not weighed down by fear, you can see opportunities that were hidden before. You become open to new paths, new people, and new experiences. So letting go is a form of wisdom. It's about knowing when to pull back, when to allow things to be, and when to trust the process. When we let go, we make space for what's truly meant for us. It's like clearing a garden of weeds. When you remove what doesn't belong, you give the flowers the space they need to grow. And in that space, you find peace, clarity, and a deeper connection to yourself. Remember, letting go isn't weakness, it's strength. It takes courage to release the fears and doubts that keep you trapped. It takes strength to trust that even if you don't control everything, things can still work out for you. So if you're feeling stuck, ask yourself, what can I let go of? What fears or doubts are holding me back? And remember, by letting go, you're not losing anything. You're gaining the freedom to become who you were always meant to be. 2, finding flow in life's resistance. Have you ever tried pushing against a door that wouldn't budge, only to find out later that it opens the other way? Life is a lot like that door. We push, we struggle, and we try to force things to happen, but sometimes all we really need is a different approach. When you feel constant resistance in life, it might be a sign that it's time to step back and rethink your strategy. Many of us were taught that success requires relentless effort, that the harder we push, the more we'll achieve. But sometimes the smartest move you can make is to find the path of least resistance. Think about a river. It doesn't force its way through obstacles. It flows around them, adapting to the terrain. And yet, over time, it carves its way through mountains. That's the power of flow, moving with ease, adapting, finding the natural path instead of trying to force your way through. This doesn't mean you give up on your goals or dreams. It means you approach them with a sense of flexibility. When you find yourself facing constant obstacles, it's worth asking, is there another way to approach this? Am I forcing something that doesn't belong? Life often has its own wisdom. Sometimes what we're chasing isn't really meant for us, or maybe it's just not meant for us right now. And that's okay. When you stop pushing against the resistance, you give yourself a chance to discover a better, more natural way forward. In our fast-paced world, we've been conditioned to think that slowing down is a form of failure. But finding flow is about working with life, not against it. When you're in flow, things start to align. You'll notice opportunities, ideas, and people showing up at just the right time. That's not luck, it's a result of moving in harmony with life's rhythm. Imagine swimming in a river. If you swim against the current, you'll tire yourself out quickly. But if you go with the flow, you can make progress without exhausting yourself. Finding flow is about tuning into that rhythm. It's about recognizing when you're pushing too hard and when it's time to step back and let things develop naturally. When you find flow, you'll notice that your actions become more effective, not because you're doing more, but because you're doing what's needed at the right time. It's a form of wisdom that takes practice, but once you get the hang of it, life becomes a lot more enjoyable. So ask yourself, are you pushing against a locked door? Are you forcing things that just don't seem to work? If so, it might be time to take a step back and look for another way. Remember, the path of least resistance isn't about taking the easy way out. It's about finding the right way, the way that aligns with who you are and where you're meant to go. When you find that flow, life doesn't feel like a constant struggle. It feels like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, moving forward with ease and purpose. 3. Building inner peace amidst external chaos. The world we live in, it's chaotic. Every day there's something, a new challenge, a new stressor, a new person testing our patience. And the truth is, most of us let the world determine our peace. But real peace, it's not something that comes from outside. It's an internal state, a decision you make, not something you're given. And the key to peace, true inner peace, is learning to protect it, even when the world around you is a whirlwind of chaos. Picture this, imagine your mind is like a calm lake. Now, when you're going about your day and everything is calm, the surface of that lake is still clear and peaceful. But as soon as you let the outside world disturb you, whether it's someone's harsh words, unexpected events, or any form of negativity, it's like someone is throwing rocks into that lake. The water gets disturbed, ripples start spreading, and suddenly what was once clear is now filled with waves and turbulence. That's exactly how your mind works. Every time you react to the chaos around you, it's like you're stirring up that lake. The more you react, the cloudier it gets. Soon you can't see clearly and you lose that sense of peace and direction. But here's the secret, you don't have to let those rocks in. You can choose not to let the outside world disrupt your peace. Instead, you can let things be, let the water settle, and maintain your clarity and calm. I think about it, when is the last time you made a great decision in a moment of frustration? When your mind is clouded, solutions seem impossible, everything feels like a problem, and you end up seeing the world through a lens of negativity. But when you're calm, when you take a step back and let the water settle, suddenly things become clearer. Solutions appear, options open up, and you're able to act from a place of wisdom, not from a place of stress. Achieving this kind of peace takes practice. It's easy to let the world drag you into its drama, to get sucked into every little thing that goes wrong. But you don't have to. The people around you, the situations that come up, they're going to do what they do. But you get to decide if you let it in. That's where the real strength comes from. You might not be able to control the chaos around you, but you can absolutely control your response to it. And it's not about becoming numb or indifferent. It's about understanding that your peace is more valuable than the temporary satisfaction of reacting. That's a discipline. It's the ability to choose calm over chaos, to choose patience over frustration, and to let your mind be like that lake, undisturbed, clear, and peaceful, no matter what's happening around it. It doesn't mean the chaos disappears. The world will still be what it is. But by learning to hold on to that inner calm, You give yourself the power to navigate it all with a steady mind. And in that steadiness, you find peace. Not because the world around you is quiet, but because you have chosen to be. 4, knowing the power of patience. Patience is something most people misunderstand. We think it's about just waiting, sitting still until things change, but patience is a lot more powerful than that. Patience isn't passive, it's a purposeful kind of waiting, where you're not sitting back doing nothing, you're waiting with intention. You're allowing things to unfold as they need to without forcing or rushing, and that kind of patience can be one of the most powerful forces in your life. Think about nature. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing, right? You plant it, you water it, and then you give it the space it needs to grow. That's patience. You're not just waiting for the sake of waiting, you're allowing a process to happen in its own time. You trust that if you do your part, nature will do its part too. Now, life is a lot like that. You set your goals, you take your actions, but then you have to let things develop. Trying to speed up the process usually only ruins it. Just like a plant, if you force it to grow before it's ready, it withers. And in life, if you rush through stages that require time, you miss out on the growth, the learning, and the strength that come from allowing things to unfold naturally. Patience requires a sense of trust that what's meant to be will find its way to you if you're consistent, if you're steady. This isn't always easy. We live in a world where we're used to instant communication, instant results. But true, meaningful progress takes time. And when you learn to value that time, when you understand that there's purpose in the process, patience becomes a source of power. A lot of people give up just because things don't happen as quickly as they'd like. But if they understood patience, they'd see that sometimes the delays, the waiting, it's all part of building something solid. Imagine building a house. If you rush through the foundation, that house isn't going to stand for long. But if you take the time to build it right, that foundation will hold up against any storm. In life, patience is that foundation. It gives you the strength to keep going, even when results aren't visible yet. It keeps you grounded when things aren't going as fast as you'd hoped. And it teaches you that sometimes what you're waiting for is taking time because it's going to be even better than you imagined. So practice patience not as a burden, but as a discipline, as a strength. Remember, patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing what you can and then trusting that the rest will happen in its own time. When you have that kind of patience, you stop worrying, you stop forcing things, and you let life work with you. And as you wait with purpose, you build resilience. You learn to appreciate each step of the journey. You realize that every delay, every pause, it's all contributing to a bigger picture. So don't let impatience steal your joy, and don't let it push you into forcing things that aren't ready. Trust that patience has a power all its own. It's not passive, it's active. It's waiting with faith, knowing that the best things in life often require time. 5, recognizing when to pull back. One of the hardest things for people to learn is the value of pulling back. In a world that constantly preaches persistence, pushing forward and never giving up, stepping back can feel like defeat. But pulling back isn't failure, it's wisdom. Sometimes the best move you can make is to take a step back, get a wider view, and ask yourself if what you're pushing for is really what's best for you. Let's think of it this way. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. You've been climbing for hours. The view is getting more challenging and exhaustion is setting in. Every step feels like you're carrying twice your weight. Now, in moments like this, our natural instinct is often to just keep going, to push through because we don't want to give up. But what if the path you're on is leading you toward a dead end? Or what if you missed a turn and there's a much easier route a few steps back? Pulling back doesn't mean you're abandoning the climb. It means you're taking a moment to make sure you're still on the right path. In life, this could mean taking a break from a project that isn't working, giving yourself space from a relationship that's draining you, or even reevaluating your career if it's not fulfilling. We sometimes get so attached to our plans that we're willing to exhaust ourselves trying to force them to work, even when all the signs are telling us to stop. But here's the thing, forcing something to work that isn't meant for you is a sure way to waste your energy and time. There's a strength in knowing when to step away. It takes courage to say, this isn't working, And that's okay, it's not weakness, it's clarity. When you pull back, you allow yourself to see the bigger picture. You can assess whether what you're pursuing is aligned with your true goals and values. It's easy to get caught up in the momentum of a path that no longer serves you, but it takes wisdom to recognize that just because you started something doesn't mean you have to finish it. Some of the most successful people in the world have mastered the art of pulling back. They understand that their time and energy are valuable resources and that it's better to redirect them towards something that genuinely matters than to keep investing them in something that doesn't. So when you're faced with a choice between pushing forward or stepping back, don't automatically assume that more effort is the answer. Sometimes the best answer is a pause, a deep breath, and a new perspective. By pulling back, you give yourself the space to realign. You may discover that the relationship you were fighting so hard to save was holding you back, or that the job you've been struggling to keep is preventing you from pursuing your real passion. Pulling back allows you to cut away what no longer serves you so you can focus on what truly matters. Remember, stepping back isn't giving up, it's making sure you're moving forward in the right direction. So the next time you're feeling stuck, instead of pushing harder, try pulling back. Give yourself the chance to reassess, recharge, and redirect. You might just find that what you thought was a setback is actually a step towards something far greater. 6. Acceptance doesn't mean complacency. Acceptance is a powerful thing, but it's often misunderstood. People think that accepting a situation means giving up, that it's passive or even lazy. But real acceptance isn't about throwing your hands up in surrender, it's about recognizing reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. And here's the crucial difference: acceptance isn't complacency. It's not about settling, it's about understanding. When you truly accept something, you stop fighting what you can't change. You stop pouring energy into resisting reality. And what happens when you stop resisting? You free up that energy to focus on the things you can change: your mindset, your actions, your reactions. It's like if you're stuck in traffic, you can sit there fuming, wishing the cars would move faster, or you can accept that this is where you are and use that time to listen to something educational, reflect, or simply relax. Acceptance is about choosing a more peaceful, productive way to engage with the world. Let me be clear, accepting a situation doesn't mean you're okay with everything about it. It means you recognize the parts that are out of your control. It's not passive resignation, it's active clarity. You see, when you accept the things you can't change, you put yourself in a position of power. You're no longer reacting to life, you're responding from a place of calm and strength. Some people think they're accepting something, but really they're just tolerating it with resentment. True acceptance is different. It's saying, this is where I am right now, and that's okay. From that place of peace, you can start to make real changes because your mind isn't clouded with frustration and resistance. Think about a tree in the middle of a storm. It bends with the wind, it doesn't stand rigid, fighting every gust. If it did, it would break. But by accepting the force of the wind, it finds a way to survive. And that's what acceptance does for us. It allows us to bend with life's challenges, to adapt without breaking. Now, don't confuse this with complacency. Complacency is settling, accepting less than what you deserve or not striving for improvement. Acceptance, on the other hand, is a grounded strength. It's acknowledging your current situation so you can move forward with clarity. It's understanding that while you may not control the wind, you control your sails. You decide how you respond to life's challenges. So practice acceptance as a tool, not as an excuse. It doesn't mean you stop striving, that you stop setting goals, or that you don't want more out of life. It means you have the wisdom to know what's worth your energy. When you accept, you're giving yourself permission to move forward without being weighed down by frustration and disappointment. Life is unpredictable, and control is often an illusion, but when you stop fighting the things you can't control, you'll find peace, and from that peace you'll have the energy and clarity to pursue your goals with even more strength and purpose. Acceptance isn't about giving up, it's about showing up fully aware, fully present, and fully capable of creating the life you want, regardless of the obstacles in your way. 7. Trusting the timing of life. One of the most challenging lessons we can learn is trusting the timing of life. Think about it, how often have we tried to rush things? We want success and we want it now. We want results and we want them instantly. It's almost as if we've become conditioned to think that if something isn't happening right away, then maybe it's not going to happen at all. But life doesn't work on our timeline, and sometimes what looks like a delay is actually life's way of saying, just wait. I'm preparing something for you. Now let's be real, waiting isn't easy. When we have goals, dreams, and ambitions, it's natural to feel that urge to push to make things happen. But here's the thing, pushing doesn't always get us what we want. In fact, sometimes it backfires. Imagine you're trying to bake a cake. If you get impatient and turn the temperature way up, hoping it'll bake faster, you'll only end up burning it. You see, some things just take time and there's no way to rush them. Success, fulfillment, relationships, these are like that cake. They need time to develop, time to rise, and if you're patient enough to let them unfold naturally, you'll end up with something worth waiting for. Think of all the great things in life that took time to build. A tree doesn't grow overnight. A masterpiece isn't painted in an hour. And the same goes for the parts of our lives that truly matter. Maybe you're going through a period where things seem stagnant, like you're not making progress. Maybe you've been working on a project, a career, or a dream, and it feels like it's taking forever to get where you want to go. But what if that time is exactly what you need? What if, instead of forcing the process, you trusted that life has its own rhythm, and that by letting things unfold, you're actually setting yourself up for greater success down the road? Here's something important to consider sometimes. The delay is exactly what you need to prepare for the right opportunity. Think about it, if you're climbing a mountain, you can't sprint to the top without taking time to adjust to the altitude. Life's delays are like that. They're periods of adjustment, times when you're growing, learning, and building the strength to handle what's coming next. Maybe the career you're working toward requires you to develop a certain skill first. Or perhaps the relationship you're longing for needs you to become more self-aware and grounded. Sometimes we're just not ready for what we're asking for, and the delay is life's way of helping us get there. Trusting life's timing also means trusting yourself. When we feel that something isn't happening fast enough, it can be easy to fall into self-doubt. We start to question if we're on the right path, if we're doing enough, if we're even capable of reaching our goals. But patience teaches us resilience. It teaches us to keep going even when we can't see immediate results, because the truth is, the journey itself is often what makes us ready for the destination. Now, you might say, but what about missed opportunities? And that's a fair question. But here's what's interesting: when you're genuinely in tune with the flow of life, you'll find that the opportunities meant for you don't just pass you by. Sure, you might have to say no to something that seems good because the timing isn't right. But in doing so, you're actually creating space for something better. We've all been in situations where we wanted something to work out and it just didn't. Maybe it was a job offer, a relationship, or a big move that fell through. At the time, it felt like a loss, maybe even a mistake. But often when we look back, we realize that what came later was far better than what we were so eager to force. Trusting the timing of life isn't about giving up control entirely. It's about understanding that we're co-creators in this process. Yes, you need to put in the work. You need to make the effort. But you also need to let life take its course. You wouldn't plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see if it's growing, would you? No, you'd water it, give it sunlight, and trust that in time it will sprout. The same principle applies to the seeds we plant in our own lives. There's a certain peace that comes with trusting life's timing. Instead of feeling rushed or pressured, you can allow yourself to focus on the present. When you're not constantly worrying about when you start to appreciate the now, you begin to see each step, each small achievement as part of the bigger picture. It's like building a puzzle. You don't rush to force all the pieces together once you work on it bit by bit, and eventually the picture reveals itself. Life is full of seasons. There's a season for growth, a season for waiting, and a season for harvest. And each season has its own purpose. If you try to harvest in the season meant for planting, you'll come up empty-handed. But if you trust that the waiting season is preparing you for what's next, you'll be ready to reap the rewards when the time is right. Just like a farmer has faith in the cycle of seasons, you too can have faith in the timing of your life. So the next time you're feeling impatient, remember this: you're exactly where you need to be right now. Everything you're experiencing is helping you become the person you need to be to achieve your goals. Life's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't seem that way. Trust that the universe, or whatever you believe in, knows the right moment for everything to unfold. When you learn to trust life's timing, you start to see that every delay, every not yet, is actually a just wait. It's like life is saying, I have something amazing in store for you, just give it a little more time. And that's a powerful thing to understand, because when you stop forcing, when you stop rushing, and when you simply trust, you give yourself the gift of patience, resilience, and faith. And those are the qualities that will carry you through life, no matter what challenges come your way. Here's the key takeaway: letting go and not forcing things doesn't mean you're giving up on your goals or dreams. It's about having the wisdom to understand that true power doesn't come from control, but from clarity, patience, and trust. Imagine what would change in your life if, instead of trying to make everything happen your way, you allowed things to flow and unfold naturally. You'd find new paths, better outcomes, and you'd feel more at peace with the journey. It's a different kind of strength, a quiet, steady power that doesn't need to control everything because it trusts in its own resilience and ability to adapt. This kind of strength is unbreakable because it's not rigid. It's flexible, calm, and deeply grounded. So don't push yourself to the point of exhaustion. Don't feel like you have to control everything around you. Life is a balance of action and patience, of pursuit and letting go. When you stop forcing things, you allow the best opportunities to come to you. You find peace in the journey, and you create a life that's both purposeful and deeply satisfying. Embrace the wisdom of knowing when to act and when to step back. Don't let the world rush you or make you believe that only by forcing things will you succeed. True success is often born from patience, from trusting the process, and from knowing that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.